I have taped it down to the table. It gives a nice border. I'm going to use a pan today, so I've got a pan palette here. This is just a Cotman Winsor & Newton palette. I'm going to start with a little bit of cerulean blue. So I've dipped loaded round number 10 into the cerulean blue. I'm going to create a wispy, cloudy sky. So I'm wisping through, pushing the brush down as I go, dipping back into the paint frequently. So every time I'm moving away, I'm dipping back into the paint. Just keep loading that brush up. You can see where I've got to the dry bit here. So I'm going to get a nice line here. Give my brush a little bit of a rinse. And I'm going to dip into some ultramarine blue. So I just want a bit of variety in the sky. So a little bit more blue. I'm just dabbing that through, so that's still with my round number 10. I'm going to swap now, so I'm using two brushes today. This is my round number 6. So I've loaded it with water. And I'm dipping into some sap green. Now, I need to really work this. With pans, you tend to have to really work. So I'm giving it a real good mix. Whilst I'm doing that, the water's coming off the brush and the paint's getting thicker, which is what I want for some very distant trees. I don't want it to be too thin. So I want you to really work that paint. So with my round number 6, just going to dab very lightly to start to create a bit of a tree line. I'm only going to do one side. I want to vary the height. Just keep dabbing. So I get a really nice tree line there. If I rinse that out, I'm just going to dip into some burnt umber. I want something a little bit of a darker tone at the bottom. Again, I'm working it a lot. Don't want it to be too runny. And just pop a little bit of this at a darker tone just towards the bottom. You can try and get your edges as straight as possible. And you get less tidal wave effect. Just with a clean, damp brush, I'm at a funny angle because of the camera, so I'm just coming this side just to help get a more level edge. So I'm just coming along. All I'm doing is manipulating the paint really. I'm not adding any extra water there. Just trying to get a nicer edge because it's a bit up and down. Straight edges can be hard to do. Okay, that's a lot better. So I'm going to go back to my round number 10 and some water. And I'm going to come in, but I'm going to leave a tiny little line of dry between them both. Plenty of water. And that's just to stop it running in. I'm going to come back into the cerulean blue. I'm going to sweep across, so horizontal strokes. This is still with the round number 10. Still leaving that very tiny line. You should be able to see it a lot clearer now. It tends to look like a glistening water's edge. You can dry it in between and come right the way up to the line, but you don't want them to blend together. So it comes on, it looks a little bit too dry, then just dip your brush back in the water and then dip back into the paint and load it up again. So I've rinsed my brush, I've come back into the ultramarine blue. So the same two blues that I've had in the sky, and again horizontal stroke. It just helps to create a water surface. So we've gone quite wispy. And then we're going to keep this bold colour towards the foreground, so it's getting lighter as it gets further away. I'm going to pick up my round number 6 again, not too much water. I'm going to dip back into that sap green, so we're going to create a little bit of a reflection into the water. So we're just going to mirror what we can see above, below, or near as. Doesn't have to be perfect. So you're getting that little reflection. Then dip into the burnt sienna. So I've not even rinsed my brush in between, I've just dipped straight into the burnt sienna pan. I'm going to do the same. It's not burnt sienna, burnt umber, correction, all the way along. So I'm mirroring what I can see. Okay, so this bit here has dried a little bit. So what I've done is I've rinsed my brush, then I've squeezed the water out with my fingers. I'm just going to touch that edge just so that it doesn't stay dry. I want that to be softened in. I'm picking up sap green again onto my brush, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of foreground here. So I'm thinking a nice lake. So I've hardly got any water on the brush, just enough to make the paint flow. So, and it's going onto wet paper, but because it's nice and thick, it doesn't go too far. Sap green is quite vibrant anyway, but you can also add a little bit of a warm yellow. So this is a cadmium yellow, just to make it a bit different to that background. Again, not too much water on the brush. Okay, I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. What I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of a grey. So to do that, I'm going to use some burnt umber and some ultramarine. So I just want a little bit of a grey. There isn't a grey in this set. It all depends on what set you get. You might have got a grey, but that's a way to make a grey. So I've got a little bit of paint there. I'm using my round number 6. I'm going to come in and create a little boat. So I think we'll have a little boat just in the distance. So this is coming on to dry. Got that little boat shape. And I can make it like a fishing boat. Can have a bit of a cabin, or we can make it a sailing boat. So I'm just going to just pop a few lines in there. I'm making it like a little motorised boat, so it's neither fishing. So I'm still doing this with my round number 6. If you struggle to do it this small, because it is quite small, then drop down to something like a number 2. Then what I'm going to do is create a reflection underneath. So I'm just leaving a tiny gap. I'm just going to wiggle in a bit of a reflection. So it's like a little wiggle motion. And I'm going to give my brush a bit of a rinse, take the water off. I'm just going to touch the bottom part of the boat, so just each edge so that it anchors it in. And then I'm just going to again bring through the reflection. So these are horizontal strokes. Wiggle a little bit, you start to get that happening. If I pick up myself, loaded my round number 6 with water, and I picked up some of this grey, I can then wiggle through, so it's horizontal but a bit of a wiggle, some more ripples. You just don't want them to be too strong. So as long as you've put plenty of water on your brush, they should not be too strong. So we're just going to do a few ripples on the water. It's a really nice, simple picture. I'll just dry that off. And so there we go, it's all finished, and I've taken the tape off, which gives it a really nice border. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. I can do more of these simple 5-minute, 10-minute watercolours for beginners. I'll pop another one for you here. If you want to have a go at something else, please do like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you next time.